everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage. My name is Jen.
Hey, Jen. My name's Dan.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
I'm great. Can't wait to get this show on the road.
I know. And today is Easter. So, for those of you who are tuning in, happy Easter wherever you are on the planet. Before we dive into today's show, I'm going to go ahead and get the announcements over with. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. We actually have been getting a lot of awards behind the scene. I don't know if you saw, I posted it in our group, Dan, but YouTube is definitely growing. So I'm super excited about that. Thank you, everybody who's been tuning in. Please make sure that you do share the show. And we are actually wrapping up season 1 today.
Yep.
So today is the final episode 10, where we're going to be putting it all together. And it's the part 2. Last week we did part 1. So it's the series conclusion about reliability.
Yep. Reliability. We can rely on it. That's what today is about. We can just rely on it. Time marches on, and so does each design.
Do you want to give us a recap of what you started with last week, and then we'll go ahead and dive into today's show?
Yeah, last week we had gone over, essentially we started the wrap up. We started to go over what was reliable in human design. Why was it that the charts always keep giving us the character and the content of what is it we do? Why is it that, the centers we can rely on to be what they are? And we sort of did a look back on many of the things we did. We have awareness. We have, 4 different types. We just went through what we had talked about already and concretized it a little bit. And today I've got a little example as we slide through some pictures. We won't spend a lot of time on these charts. We're going to see how they keep changing.
Okay. You want me to go ahead and pop it up on the screen?
Sure. Unless there is one big announcement. I should make it right now.
Absolutely.
On July 30th at around 3:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So whatever time that is for you, on this planet, we have a nodal shift. The nodes of our body graph, they shift, and we can do that first. So I sent you 2 PDFs and then 5 pictures or so.
Yes, I got the PDFs up.
Yep. So nodal shift. I would like you to notice that in the nodes on this body graph, you see, go to the one that's right before it.
Okay.
Or after.
This one's the 1549.
Okay, and
this one was the 1548.
Yeah, this one says 43 to 2. Yeah, go to the 1548 one.
This is the first one.
Okay. So 1548, notice the nodes. Those nodes are still, what do those nodes read? I can't quite read them. Oh, yeah, 2343.
Yes, right up here, nodal shift.
Yep, but down
to the 2-1.
Yep, but on the body graph on the right-hand side, you get below the sun, the earth, the moon. You see those 2 nodes there?
23.1 and 43.1.
Right, and then time on this chart, notice the time right underneath that name there. The time says
1548.
Yep, so that's 3:48 Eastern Standard Time, Longmeadow, Mass, where I live. Go to the next chart and look where they are on the body graph. They are between the ajna and the throat center.
23. So we would look for 23 right here.
23 and 40.
Right here.
Yeah, this is a channel of structuring. This is a design of explaining stuff. This is a design of where you have insights pouring through you, and you can either seem like a freak if you can't explain yourself, or you're a genius if you can. This is a very talkative channel. This is I speak. This is I know. The voice of this channel says I know. If you have this channel and you're a kid, you're always saying I know. I know. If you're the wife of this man, you're going to roll your eyes because your husband always says I know. And and it's very talkative because there's insights. 43 is pouring through insights. It's our genetic need and our genetic proclivity to literally have abundant insights and breakthroughs and want to break through. So we're talking, hey, da, da, da. Hey, did you know? Hey, blah, blah, blah. The other person's, hey, blah, 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 this. Hey, blah, 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 that. Blah, 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 blah. Everybody's talking. Go to 1 minute later, the next slide. So July 30th of this year, instead of 348, now it's 349. Yep. Look, those nodes are gone on the right-hand side. They went
2.6 and 1.6.
And 1.6, yeah. So this is all about driving a direction towards creativity. And it's going to go through this nodal cycle for 3 or 4 months. The point being that within this minute, and I can get the exact second as we get closer to it. So it'll come down to, I believe it was about 22 or 3 seconds after the minute. Anybody who's out in public, I suggest everyone experiment with this and just recognize how powerful the program is. You be out in the mall, public place, if there's still $1 to be had and there's still a gallon of gas to drive somewhere, go somewhere and literally just be in a public place and watch everyone shut up at the same time.
That's going to be very interesting. And I like that you say, not that I like going to the mall or anything like that, but you would want to be in a place where where there's all sorts of different conversations going.
Absolutely. You'd be in a cafe that's busy, not just one person. You'd be out at Starbucks where everybody's chit-chatting. It's right in the middle of the day, so there should be some activity. Be in a mall, go to a store.
What day is this on?
Say it again.
I gotta know. July 30th.
July 30th.
It's on a Saturday.
Oh, dude, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
So
on a Saturday in the summer, and people are out and about, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, they're hanging out on patios and stuff like that. That's going to be really interesting because here in Houston, a lot of people are out and about. I'm definitely going to go check that out.
It's going to be a way for people, anybody watching this, to recognize how helpless we are. But to the program has us all talking up a storm. It's been doing it for the past month and a half or so, month and a half. And I mean everywhere, dinner tables between each other. It's also wicked stubborn, this channel, because it's in the individual circuitry. So it wants to be mutative. It wants to do its own thing, literally, and it's deaf to the other. So a lot of people are talking and they're not necessarily listening to what the other is saying. And it doesn't matter. There's just talk. This is a talking channel. And so once it leaves the nodes, it'll be in that moment, everyone's genetics will disorganize a little bit. And for a whole, possibly as many as 2 or 3 seconds, they'll be like, and then it'll start back up again slowly. And then boom, it'll be a totally different hue, a totally different feel. It'll be like, what happened? The people in it might not even notice. They'll just be like, oh, there's something different. And then the talk will change, the level will change, the veracity of speech will change. It'll just change. Doesn't mean someone will forget what they were saying a minute earlier. It's just, it'll change.
It'll be something that's noticeable.
Noticeable. If you're watching, watch for it and be like, oh my God, and recognize this will have happened everywhere on the planet. Everywhere on the planet, everyone's going to zip it for a few seconds as they disorganize and reorganize into the new nodes, which are about their creativity, their creative way.
Fascinating.
So, fascinating indeed. So if you wonder, are we in a program being dialed around the sun as we go around the sun? Just watch this happen. Watch the helplessness. And no one will even know except you who is watching. So that's the announcement. July 30th, 3:48.
And we will definitely keep you guys up to date the closer we get to July 30th. I should actually write that on my calendar.
Yeah, maybe we can go live somewhere. I'll go somewhere. No. Somewhere we'll be on our phones.
Okay, you know what?
Document it.
me and Dan have been talking about planning something. We would love to hit the streets and really talk to you guys and have y'all meet us. So, I think that would actually be a perfect time.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And if it can't happen, if it's not in the cards, I can at least be on my phone. You can be on your phone. We can be someplace.
Yes, absolutely. I think we should definitely record that.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, do you want to go ahead and dive right into
Yep.
today's episode?
Yep. Let's get to the slides.
All right. We have Sheena joining us today, so I'm going to go ahead and pop her onto the screen. Hello,
Awesome.
Sheena.
I'm so glad.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's really cool to be here.
Yep. So anyone who Sheena is someone that Sheena, when was it that we did our little series of readings and I sent you some recordings? That was like 2-3 weeks ago now, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yep. We made a big impact, and suddenly Sheena recognized her own design. And it was. Can you describe a little bit about the moment when you realized, oh my God, this man is reading me, and I've never met him before?
Yeah, it's well, first I was interested when Jen started posting about it, and I'm personally into self-development, learning the secrets of everything that's been hidden from all of us as a collective, and just committing to my own personal growth. And so I was fascinated by that. And then she hooked me up with you to get the reading done. And looking at these symbols and numbers and looking at this chart, it was kind of definitely it's a different language.
Yeah,
But
yes, that's an understatement.
Yeah. It definitely seems like an actual, an otherworldly language. I'll put it to you that way. But as we're going over the reading and you're explaining certain things from head to toe with all of these boxes, centers, nodes, all of that, and you're hitting on some points like why I'm an emotional person, what things are important to me. From a real tangible example is that anywhere I've worked before, I'm always the cleanup person. For some reason, I get hired, and that role is always a cleanup role. There's disorganization, there is confusion, whether it be a project management position, purchasing position, whatever. And when I would go in there, I would completely look at all of the programs we used, all of the structures or that were supposedly in place for the role, and everything was always chaos and a mess. And I'd go in and create a new filing system, whether it be virtual or physical, and come up with easy ways and processes and procedures to do things, not because I was in tune with why I do that, but I just would observe, kind of examine, and think there's got to be an easier way to do this. And since I was a kid, I was always like, there's got to be an easier way to do these things. And that was usually towards things that I didn't want to do, like chores, like homework, like learning something I didn't want to learn. And as it turns out, there's a reason why I do all of those things. And it's because I was designed to do those things. And if I'm operating from a perspective that's a positive way, I can make vast improvements and achievements in areas of my own personal growth in that area and helping people from an organizational standpoint. When I'm operating from a depressed state or a negative state, then it's almost like that part of my brain is just completely deactivated.
Resistance.
Resistance.
Yep. That's what this is all about. Why don't you pull up the slides? And so for everyone who wasn't sure before, what we're looking at is we're looking at mechanics. And again, these mechanics have become reliable. It's the reliability of this, of what is in your body graph, what you were implanted with at birth, through the agency of our solar system, through the energy of the neutrino ocean that's pouring through. It formats each new child at the time of birth. We can see what that formatting is, and they will hold that formatting forever. A child born today on Easter Sunday is a 2-4 natural. They can't help it. They're just a little hermit that gets out and networks with people. And so this person is on the cross of the laws. And if you slide to the next, I'm just going to go through so you can recognize as time marches on. I had a clip of music from Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls.
I couldn't upload that.
No, I did. Well, I didn't send it.
Oh,
I didn't send that because in case there was something,
that would have been cool. We probably would have had to get the copyrights on it.
Yeah, well, for whom the bell tolls. If the bell tolls for you and you get read and you have the serendipity to be read, you will see how, as time marches on, we keep putting out new genetic designs that show up every year. And each year it piles on top of the next year. And because we're always a quarter of a day behind, the genetic series is always overlapping. It's never exactly the same. And that's exactly what genetic mutation does. If it's always the same, exactly the same, there's no mutation. As soon as there's overlap and it gets different and closer and closer and closer, by the time a couple hundred years goes by, we've been through several leap years, a bunch of leap years, but in reality, what we've been through is it shifts. It's not the exact same day each year that the cross will change for that person. And so it creates difference. We're stacking on top of each other. That stacking creates mutation. Mutation creates difference. From that, we can rely on what the hell we see here. So just go to is this the next one? Yeah.
Yes.
Notice how the profile changed. So a week later, the profile changed. Last week, we were emotional. This week, we're not emotional and we're splenic. So your children are totally different. Notice those nodes are still there, those 2343. So for the next 3 months, every child born has a channel of structuring, and they're always going to raise their hand in class and say, I know. Even if they don't know is a thing. It's a thing. So before we had a generator, now we have a manifesting generator. Scroll to the next slide. Watch this profile. 3-5. Oh, it changed. 3-5 turned into a 4-1. And this is on May 1st. So notice we keep changing, and we're going to go all the way around the circle, and we're going to change. And every 5 weeks, every couple of weeks, so we actually every week and a half at most, we go through all the profiles. It's actually every week, a little under a week, we go through all 12 profiles. So notice on this one, there's no emotional center and there is no spleen. This person's under a great deal of pressure. They're still a structured being. They're a generator, but they're not a manifesting generator anymore. Scroll to the next slide. Oh, they have a defined head on this one too. Yeah. So 5-8, it changed to a 6-2 profile. So we're getting into these transpersonal profiles. It's marching up the profile ladder only to start over again, just like a genetic spiral. And this person's back to a manifesting generator. And look at that. All their definition is straight up and down in that individual corridor from 61 all the way down to 14.
All the way down.
Yep. So
just this one spot.
Yep. This is a totally different kid as the one that was before. Totally different. This kid's going to run into unexpected stuff. This person's going to be basically trial and error for the first 30 years of their life, figuring out what direction they want to go. And then they're going to go up on the roof and figure it out after that. They're a natural on their design side. So this child is going to want to hermit themselves, and it'll be unconscious for them. But they're always going to be trying to come up with a formula that they can explain that they know. If you have a child born on 5/8 at 12 noon, which is what time all of these were done, 12:01 actually, p.m., and around this time, they're all going to be the same kid. Essentially, they're all going to have these similar features, and they're all going to want to explain the formulas they come up with. So if you have a child born on this day, let them talk. Let them explain their formulas.
So Dan, does it matter where these kids are being born, or is it strictly related to the time and date of birth?
It totally matters. Lots of things will change. We should do one on Barack Obama, because all that talk about this is a diagnostic tool for people. It's a diagnostic tool for relationships and families. It's a forensic tool.
For sure.
For sure, because Barack Obama was supposedly born in Hawaii, right? Something like that. And if we
supposedly,
I don't have the accurate information.
Right. Well, you know what? I'll do some more digging. The point to it being that I should talk to Meg, my first teacher in human design. Maybe we'll get her on.
Question. So, what if you did the Hawaii where he, the controlled narrative is he was born in Hawaii. The counter narrative is he was born in Africa, according to his
Kenya.
blood brother.
Yeah, something like that.
So
Kenya.
what if you did run 2 profiles on him, one in those 2 different dates of birth, and let's see where his
Here's
public
what we
persona
found.
lines
That's a
up
whole
to.
celebrity show. Yes,
It is. But here's
Yes.
what I found was that so Barack Obama, according to Hawaii, was a 6'2" profile. Well, that 6'2" profile acts as the role model, and they're a hermit. So Barack Obama was anything but a hermit.
So run the Kenya one and see where his public persona
I
lies.
already did.
Oh.
And his profile changed. So the design stayed relatively the same. The design lines, they move slowly, but they move. You know, they move. But gates and so forth. Especially if the outer planets, when these outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, they move slowly. So they're going to stay in a gate for months and months and months. Pluto will stay in a gate for up to a year. I mean, think about it. It takes, how long does it take Pluto to go all the way around? It's like 260 something years, right?
I believe so. I'm not too sure.
Long time. So, you know, it'll stay in their 64 gates. So Pluto will stay in a gate for a couple of years is the thing. But yeah, a friend of mine, my first teacher, actually, she looked him up in Kenya and realized, no, the profile changed to you, Jen, a 5'1".
Oh, interesting.
The attractive general who attracts the projections of others and does all the investigating to come up with what should they really do. The attractive person who is seductive, whose voice carries and universalizes the message. The 6'2" isn't the universalizer of the message. They're the role model. They're the living out of the message. People look to the 6'2" to be like, hey, corroborate this for me. If the 6-line personality says, yeah, it's this way, then all the other lines below say the role model said it was this way. It must be so. The old archetype was, you know, the heretic, the 5'1" heretic comes into town and says, rain's coming, you got to build an ark. And the villagers get nervous. Who is this heretic? They don't know. They're projecting upon this heretic that he or she may or may not be telling them the truth. They're arranging the fire pit for where they're going to burn him at the stake or have a giant celebration because he was right. So they go up to the person on the hill, the hermit, the 6'2", and they say, dude, we got this crazy person down there saying it's going to rain. And he wants us to build an ark. Do we burn him or do we celebrate? And the guy comes down from up on the hill. This is an archetype of a story, a parable. And he looks around. He says, yeah, looks like rain. Let's build an ark. Suddenly, the universalizing 5'1" heretic is not a heretic anymore. He's the general, and he's the saint. He's the savior. He's the person everyone projected upon to know and to be the attractive face of the seduction of the voice that will get listened to. And in Barack Obama's case, get voted in.
Question.
Yep.
On that personality, would that personality be more susceptible to being programmed?
No,
versus the other one? No,
Nope.
but mean like groomed to be the seductive.
Face? Yes.
Versus the other one, would he be more susceptible to being the one implanted with specific things in order to carry out?
Yes. If somebody's watching the program with nefarious thoughts in their head on how they're going to manipulate us, absolutely. A whopping big fat yes on that. Sort of why us waking up negates their ability to do that to us. So one of the reasons we're here. So I
thought about that. I know, Dan, me and you have had a couple of discussions on them knowing about this and doing things. And I got to thinking about my story. And I know a lot of us are here to serve a greater impact. And because of my design, there's a lot of things. So where grooming came in that I've had to break out of for my own program. So Sheena, I would say that is spot on being a 5'1" profile.
Interesting.
So in Kenya, he's a 5'1" profile, which far more fits his rise to power. The seductive one with the voice that carries and universalizes a message that suddenly everyone projects their hopes and dreams onto. That sounds a lot more like Barack Obama than the 6'2" who's a hermit.
That fits.
Savannah said.
It fits with alternative views and counter narrative research that he was raised on the farm. So it fits.
Who knows?
I would just say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who knows if as I start to look into it a little more, I'll get up both profiles and I can talk back and forth and try and figure out which thing was
We'll
which.
have to do a whole celebrity show on
Yes. Yeah, for sure, guys.
Will that get our channel shut off?
No, we'll just have to use keywords and people, but people who will watch will read between the lines. That is that's a fantastic show right there.
I have a chart somewhere. I can.
Do we want to do that for Wednesday?
You want to do that for Wednesday?
Why not, guys?
It would be great to follow Trump, but I had Russell Brand down.
Say it again.
Oh, that's going
I
to be a
had
good
Russell
one too.
Brand down.
Well, let's take a vote on the show. What do you think, Savannah? You just showed up. Hi, Savannah.
Hi.
Hi, Savannah.
Hi. Yeah, I was gonna make a comment about how you pointed out Barack Obama being a 5'1". Like that makes so much sense because the 5'1" is the leader, they're charismatic, and that's totally like how he is. He's really charismatic and projecting onto them, and so yeah, that makes sense. That 6'2" doesn't make sense at all. So that's really cool. I never even thought of that, but. I also had a question because since we're talking about how charts change, like depending on where they are in the world. So I actually, my husband's chart, anyways, I found someone who was born like the exact same day, the exact same time, but they were born in 2 states over in California, but my husband was born in Idaho, which was like shocked me because I was in a human design group and someone posted their chart and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like identical to my husband's, but they were just different places. But I noticed the only thing, like everything was the same, like all the lines were the same, the profile was the same, but the only thing that was different was the arrows up by the arrows up by the head. One of the arrows was pointing a different way, and so I actually wanted to talk to you about that. Sorry, I don't know if I'm going off topic, but
no. This is the changing lines. That's the whole idea. The Chinese I Ching said, hey, we got something going on here. There's changing lines. We keep changing. Humanity keeps changing. And they just didn't know how to put it all together in a wheel where we could transfer it into a body graph. If anyone here is familiar with the Chinese I Ching, there's these 64 ways of modern man. That's what those guys in the hills of China figured out, over 5,000 years ago. They came up with the hexagram structures that we use. And it's and they were right. They just didn't have a way of identifying for sure which hexagrams were where in a body graph. So they couldn't go to their brother and say, you were born on this day, you have these ways only, and you don't have the other ways. What you are, in other words, they couldn't quite go in detail, say what you are and what you're not. So that's what we're here doing, is wrapping up this demystification of human design, what you are and what you are not. It's here in the imprinting. It becomes undisputable as we read and keep repeating. The definition of a science is, of a good theory is you can give it to someone else and they can repeat the same experiment and get it. As soon as you can do that, that's why we don't yet have, what's that thing, the energy, the infinite energy that we don't have yet, fusion, cold fusion. Someone said they did it, right? Someone said I did it, fusion on Earth, but no one could replicate his experiment, their experiment. So is it a thing? We don't know. This we replicate over and over and over again, so we can rely on it. If you go to that 6-2 is about to swap over again. If you go to the next slide,
to 1-3.
Look at all the things that changed. A whole bunch of lines left the left-hand side. They moved over to the right-hand side. It's no longer it's a week later. It's a totally different profile. This is the foundational profile. Life begins at the 1-3 profile. And it
now, Danny?
Yep.
Sorry, real quick. So the 1-3 profile, for people that are just kind of new to human design and in trying to follow along, what is the 1-3 profile? What does that mean? Is that still like a manifesting generator? Is it a projector?
It has nothing to do with type. Profile
doesn't have anything to do with type.
Right. It's fully independent of type, lines, gates, centers. It's fully independent of that. It's a separate part of the program that is programming us to constantly go through a genetic spiral. There's the first part of the spiral and the second part of the spiral, just like a double helix in our body graph, in our physical body.
Okay.
The
DNA.
1-3 is the foundational profile. I'll just read them off. From there, it goes up to the 1-4, then the 2-4, then the 2-5, then the 3-5, and it just keeps snaking up from there. And then the 3-6, and then the 4-6, and then it transitions into the 1-4, and it goes through the 1-5, the 3, the 6-2, and and then it comes, then it circles back around again to the 1-3 again. So it's constantly spiraling up and then dropping down and starting over again, just like our genetic code does.
Yes.
So
fascinating.
So Dan,
It really is.
Yep. So this was the last one, just to show we started over again. 515, we're totally starting over again. Totally different cross. This is the cross of contagion. This person contagiously wants to contribute their creative way, and whatever it is they're clinging to as to a feeling, and all they want to do is basically contribute the feeling that they want to say yes to. They want to throw all their power into contributing that once they've investigated. The 1-3 says, I'm the investigating martyr. The martyr part is because they're unconsciously, they're going to tear down foundations that don't work. That's all there is to it. They're just going to tear it down. Not that they're going to have something to replace it with necessarily, but they know it needs to be torn down. That's the martyr, the trial and errorist. Really, the third line is like an anarchist, and the first line is like a chameleon that just investigates and blends into the background until they've investigated it enough, and then they become an authority. So we need this profile. It starts everything off, and the whole idea with all of this was to represent the changing lines. So we just changed. Jen, I don't know if this is the last picture of these, right?
Yes, it is.
Can you go backwards like every second? Just go backwards until we're at the first one. Boom. Watch them change. See? Lines are changing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changes. So now this is months into the future, but if you want to go full screen, we can, because we don't need these pictures up here. Just your child is changing every day, every week. There's a different child that's being born. So what we're trying to get to is we can rely on this stuff. This is our genetic truth. We've come to the conclusion of demystifying human design through the awareness, through the neutrino stream that is actually programming our genome, why it takes it on, what is it really doing. I've gone through the mechanics of the centers. I've gone through the mechanics of the not self, what the awareness streams are doing for us, and why it's like a little vortex. We culminated that vortex in how powerful our right now is. And then we started to wind down the series with last episode, where I just went through a general overview of a body graph. And now we just showed you how reliably, day after day, week after week, the lines change. That's why we're all different. And as we learn to read them off, the next thing you know, it's reliable. It becomes reliable for each new person. So world, please stop trying to make us be the same freaking person. We are not homogenizable.
I know.
We can't do it.
It doesn't. And we see what happens to the container when they do that.
Yeah, look at China.
Nobody's happy right now.
Nope. Look at China. They try to homogenize everyone be the same. Same thing with North Korea. Everyone be the same. It's just awful. So
if Creator wanted everyone the same, he would have made us all the same. There'd be nothing new to learn. There'd be nothing new to experience. There'd be no purpose. Really, there'd be no purpose for humanity.
Yep. So try to imagine how scary it is, though, for the collective forces that try to rule us. Sameness means that they can control just couple of aspects, and we're all under control. But they're aware that every individual is so terribly unique, and it's our uniqueness. Think about it. We're born different into a sea of different people. So if the child isn't given this structure of who they are and who they're not as they grow up, think about the parent that would know this information. Even if they didn't know it to the core intuitively, I can't think of a mother or a father that wouldn't intuitively recognize, oh my God, that's my kid. And suddenly stop trying to fix it. There's nothing to fix. Your kid's perfect. You're the one who's all messed up, mom and dad. You don't know. Me too, by the way. I messed up terribly. Plenty
I
of
did
ways.
too. Now that I'm learning more about my design and looking into my sons and
Mhm.
even others, the people that are around me, it where I struggled in relationships, different things that came up makes complete sense when I was in my not self.
We are very different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yep, we're incredibly different is the thing. So
I did join that I joined a manifesting group, and
oh,
boy, a manifester group.
are they
That's
angry?
No, they're not angry.
Good.
I haven't seen anything not too angry, but um I will say this, when I got in there, the first feeling that I got was so I'm a shaman. That's what I study and everything like that. And I did the Moon Key, which is the Mayan. So I got into Mayan astrology, which is based off 13 moons. And in Mayan astrology, when a child was born, they would cast a chart and they would be like, oh, you're the shaman. We're going to put you in shaman school. And just like what we should be doing with human design so that people can, be around other designs that are like them or they could flourish, when they're growing up. And as soon as I got into that group, it was like, oh, wow, I'm around people that are understanding what's going on internally.
Yep. That must have felt really, what
It
was that like?
felt good because then I have a place to go that I can be myself, because that's where I struggled being the 5-1 profile, especially,
Yep.
the way that I would react. People take it personally. There are some times where I need, especially more since my awakening, I need a moment to process something because I'm on an emotional wave and I
Mm-hmm.
know not to make a decision in my emotions. But, you know, there have been times where people have been wanting me to give a response. And when I say no, they take it personally, like it's something with them. No, it's just give me a moment to come
Or a
down.
day or a week.
Yes.
It's not up to you or them. It's up to your timing, and you're the only one who will know.
Yes. The more that I recognize it, and even with my son or with other people, it's like, oh, okay. Like last week, I had an emotional wave, and
Yeah.
right after the show, both you and Tressa were like, "Okay, I'll give you a moment. I don't know what it's like because you're emotional, but y'all gave me a moment, and that was nice."
Yeah, we let everything off the hook. That's right. That's right. Savannah, you've been in a bunch of groups, as I recall, or a couple. You're in a projector group now.
Oh yeah. Oh, on that Marco Polo. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of projectors in that group. Oh, what I was gonna say, sorry, back then when we were talking about the profiles like changing
Yeah.
on the day. So aren't some profiles more common than others? Like aren't the
Yep.
4 1s and the 1 4s, they're
Less.
more rare,
Yep.
right?
They're
And
the
they
transitioning profiles, the profiles that keep the genetic helix together while we transition between foundational profiles.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then aren't they different from the ones that are in the lower triagram, the
Yep.
profiles, as opposed to the upper triagram? Can you
Absolutely.
explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So just like our genetic code, there's a lower tripid and an upper tripid, 3. So you got these 3 aminos stacked on top of 3 more aminos. And what's happening is then that synthesizes for the genes that give us life and put breath into our vehicle. And so it's the same with the I Ching. The lower 3 lines of every hexagram, right up through to part of line 4, make this a profile that is totally different. It's self-absorbed. It's a personal profile. It's got a personal destiny. It's got a personal karma. It's literally generating karma on the planet. It's not necessarily living out the karma that it has. It's literally generating what's going to be happening for the people who have the upper profiles. It's a whole that's a whole show to go into on actually just the profiles. But just be aware that the most common profiles are the lower trigram profiles. So from a 1-3 all the way up to a 4-6, there's 7 of them. And then there's one truly transitional profile. It's a fixed fate. And then there is the 4 transpersonal profiles. Jen, you have a transpersonal profile. You're always living out the karma that's being created by the personal profiles, the personal destiny profiles, and vice versa. And then you have a karmic thing that gets lived out. And then the next thing you know, we're living out what you just lived out. So we're constantly working in this yin yang format. Nobody escapes. There's no getting out of this circle. All there is communing with it. And just back to the reliability of the genetics, to really wrap up the show, we are 9-centered beings. We're no longer 7-centered. We're here to commune. And I'm quite certain that the forces above us are so aware of this that they literally keep. I mean, dude, they played so successfully on emotions, because when we're in an emotional state, what do we want to do? We want it to end. How do we end the emotional state? We make a decision, right? Let's end it. Let's make a decision.
And half, learning about and being emotional, it's half the population, or 51% are emotional?
51% are emotional.
And when I started to learn about the emotional, I was like, okay, I thought everybody was experiencing those emotions, and now it's not. But let's just magnify it with it being 51% and people not being in tune and not waiting, like not making a decision in their emotions.
Right. What a wonderful world. What a different world.
And how many are emotional manifestors? Do you know that number?
It's 51% of you guys. The emotional solar plexus.
So 51% and 9%.
Yep. So half of 9%, essentially.
4.5%. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Taking the lead on things.
10% of all the projectors are emotional. 33 to 35% of all the generators are emotional. The only one that's not emotional is the reflector, because they have no definition. So they stand apart. But regardless, we live on an emotional planet.
One thing I wanted to share, what I love about human design is what they teach someone who does have an emotional authority, is they tell, like, I love the, wait it out, don't make decisions like in the moment. Like, that's such wise advice. But I also like how it, because sometimes someone might take it personally, like, oh, I'm emotional. Like, sometimes I feel like that has a negative connotation, but human design is like, no. Like, it's actually a gift to kind of have these highs and lows. And then I think, Dan, you gave the example of how, like, we tend to be the most creative when someone is in their low. And then, like, I think Beethoven wrote his best music.
Oh, yeah.
When he was in a low, or like, what is it, Van Gogh or something, like the painters.
Van Gogh.
There you go. They make their best art when they're in their low. And so I love how you pointed it out. Like, I feel like in our society, we don't like being in the low. And it's like, oh, you need medication, to get out of the no. Like, human design.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong with you. Like, it's actually your superpower. And you can be the most successful and the most creative when you're in that low. And to realize, like, you're going to pull out of it. Like, you aren't going to stay there forever. Because we know people who have a channel or who are emotional, like, it's going to ebb and flow. So just realize, like, nothing's wrong with you. Like, you're beautiful and perfect the way you are. And there's a gift there. So I just wanted to share that, since we were talking about, like, emotional maturity. And I don't know if that's where you wanted to go with it. But yeah, because I 3 of my kids are emotional. And so is my husband, or emotional authority. So in their chart. And so just realizing that, it helped me a lot in, like, understanding my kids and, like, how to support them when they're in an emotional wave. And so, anyways, sorry, went on that tangent.
No, that's beautiful.
It really is.
I want to piggyback on that, actually, because if you think about it, what types of people are the ones who are likely to make waves, who are likely to make decisions, who are likely to want to change or disrupt things? What type of people? The ones who are completely monotone and chill all the time, or the people who are affected from an emotional standpoint?
That's a loaded question, Sheena. Do you want me to explain why?
Yes.
Yes, it's a loaded question, because the other, let's just call it 50-50, even though it's really 51-49. So the half of us who aren't
Yeah.
and I forget, Sheena, do you have an emotional definition in your body graph where that brown center on the far right is filled in? I forgot. I don't have my
I
phone
believe
up.
so, yes.
So
Yes.
so you're on an emotional, so you recognize this up and down, and you've learned to dread when it starts to go down. But now that you've seen it, you've recognized that don't dread it. You can dread it a little bit, but it's not going to do you any good. And and now they don't last as long.
Right.
No.
I can let it go, and I can ask the why and why I'm down, and I can not look at it from a fact that the other shoe's going to drop. I can look at it more like the wave, like Savannah was saying, like it's an emotional wave. So just ride it out. Because when you resist, even from a surfing aspect, you resist the wave, you're going to just crash. You're just going to get smashed. But if you just ride it out, you'll be back to neutral and up again. And if you can see the lows as lessons instead, then it's like, yay, I'm living the lesson I learned, and there's a new lesson. And you can just kind of learn to deal with the peaks and valleys.
The valleys and the peaks, exactly. So the loaded part of that question was the fact that, so Savannah and I are unemotional. That means that if we're not aware of our nature, we'll get swept up in your guys' emotional wave. So who's really the most emotionally turbulent at times are those of us who are unemotional. You guys live with it. Savannah and I, we don't know, and then someone comes and sticks that wave in us, and we didn't know, and the next thing you know, we're twice as emotional. If
like what? I'm supposed to feel something. Why? When? Why? What? Really? Why? Okay. Why?
Right. Whereas you're just sort of like, hey, I'm just not feeling well right now. You've sort of learned, many times in your life, Sheena, you figured out, I'm just blue. Just leave me alone. That was perfect. Now you can do that with awareness.
Said that before.
Yeah, now you can do that with awareness, and the same with you, Jen. And so when you think about that emotional wave,
I do. Sometimes people don't listen.
Just right.
I know. And when they don't,
and I
get more emotional, and then it goes, yes.
It's true. It's so true. And so those of us who are unemotional, think of how easily we get swept away. So Jen, you're on that fifth line seductive emotional wave, and suddenly you really love somebody, or you feel really high about somebody. I'm just picking an archetype of a feeling we all have. Well, if that person's unemotional and they get swept away in your wave, next thing you know, that's the same thing. Suddenly we're in Vegas and we all say, I do. That's the flip side of making the wrong decision, maybe. And let's have a baby. I love you. Oh, 5 months later. Oh my God. What was that song, Meatloaf?
It's like, you're angry today? Yeah.
Oh, what was that? The Dashboard Light?
Praying for Paradise by a Dashboard Light.
Yes. Great song.
And at the end of the song, so now they're praying for the end of time to hurry up and arrive, right? So they can get away from the other because they made an emotional decision on the high part of a wave. Hey, that can be just as equally as destructive.
I've done that.
Yes. Let's buy. I want to buy a new car. Sure. I bought a suit today. Whatever it is, there's nothing wrong. To be aware. Just to be aware.
Go get a tattoo today.
Yep.
We have a comment I'd like to read. It's from Jacob. And it says, in the past, I put myself down for being emotional. It's awesome to understand now how to interpret the ups and downs and learn from it. It's also a blessing when your spouse can navigate it with you. It is.
It so is.
Absolutely.
So we have a viewer. We have Jake as a viewer.
Jacob is watching.
Well,
I'm glad you're not putting yourself down anymore.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good deal, Jake. I'm glad that took place for you. I wonder if I know this particular Jake. Wink, wink, nod, nod. That's Savannah's husband, by the way. What I'm guessing, right, Savannah?
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Savannah has to mute because she's got a pile of kids that are always gonna
That's okay.
So if you see a football fly by or a frisbee hit her in the head, so there's nothing she can do about that. So Jake's right on the money. It's the awareness that in the low part of the wave is where the creativity comes. Think of this from a parent's point of view. The mom and the dad, they're aware their child is emotional, And now they can truncate that emotional wave for that child to be what a child would normally experience. A few minutes, 5 minutes. The kid is just really low, and the parent can articulate and explain to them, oh no, honey, this is where your creativity comes in. In fact, if you're feeling a little bit low, it's because something great's about to come out of you. So let's enjoy the magic of what's about to come out of you. And now the child, we as adults, we can carry this wave for the low part of this wave can feel like depression. We get medicated. We could be there for years. Some people are there for a year and two. But the kids' time frame is always truncated, right? They live in dog years, kids do. They live in, 5 minutes later, life is totally different for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and 5 minutes later, their wave goes away and suddenly they start to recognize it. Now, that child will never have a chip on their shoulder or be riding out a big fat trip in their life as an adult because they would have seen it over and over. They would have grown up with it. And the conditioning will never get to them. And the world will never be able to tell them what to do with their emotional wave. And people who love them will stop asking them questions that condition them, like, you're down on your wave and someone comes along and says, come on, what's the matter? And if you're not aware, you come up with a reason. There's no reason for that. The body gave you its wisdom and said, sorry, kid, got to go down. Good for you. Go down for a little while. Come back up with the next new thing. We need it. We need your guys' clarity that you bring to us, or else it would just be me and Savannah skipping across the surface, living in the now. I look at that little guy in the background. Which one's he? Savannah. Which one? Oh, I missed him. He's great. We still got to read for your kids.
Oh, that's Rushton. So
How you doing, buddy?
He's non-emotional too. He has an open solar plexus. And then Coco.
Coco, I know all about you, you little.
Yes, little Coco. She's the same as you, Dan. She's a 2-4 manifestation generator, vessel of love. So anyway.
Oh, gotta love that. That's
Hey,
so
what a
Coco.
cutie.
Hi.
Hi.
Love you, Coco. You're the best. So we have the opportunity to affect these children. They can be the new leaders of our world as they grow up, and they won't be affected by stupid. They won't be hit by the dumb. We'll call it a disease. Uh-oh, you got the stupid? Yeah, my finger started twitching. I got me a case of the stupid. They won't have to go through that, That's what we want. So
yes, we want them to do that.
I have a question for you guys, or for Dan or Jen. How many main profiles are there?
The main profiles, let's see, 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6, 5, 1. So there's 7 of them. 5, 1, 6, 2. 7 foundational.
So that's like.
profiles.
Oh, I meant like generators, projectors.
Four.
Types.
Those are types.
Oh,
There's
what
4
are
different types.
Okay, got it. Thank you. 4 different types. So I think it would be fascinating for me because what you guys made me think of. We know that the powers that be who've written this matrix that we're living in, and it wasn't designed for us, like to tell us a lot of the truth about us in movies and through lyrics and music. So I think it'd be really cool. Have you guys heard of the movie Divergent?
Yes.
I've heard of it, but
okay. So for anyone who's never heard of it, Divergent takes place in a dystopian future where they divide children into factions based on their virtue. They hold a stone or something, and it reads their profile. And as a result, they can choose to stay in the profile going forward to see how, because they're in groups that they're going to be in for the rest of their life. They can either choose the path by which they were born, imprinted, if you will, divinely, right? Or they can choose another one. So the factions that they are divided into are abnegation, erudite, dauntless, amity, and candor. So if you're fearless, you'd be under the dauntless. Like if you were born fearless for whatever reason, basically, I feel like they're hinting to human design in this. So where we see a lot of spirituality and occulted knowledge in snippets, and then they talk about extraterrestrials and snippets and things like Stargate, like Jen and I were talking, they've hinted to human design, and it would be super cool to find a few movies or shows where they've hinted at this and dissect it and see what they're actually really telling us about human design in these shows. And so
the show idea,
based on some of the stuff that I've learned with the human design from you doing my chart, Dan, I could see where I would fall into a certain faction.
Yeah.
Like back to what Jen was saying, if we are, as kids, we learned to be we were surrounded by other manifesting generators or projectors or whatever, and we just learned how to be those things in the first, let's say, K through 5.
Yeah.
Then we learned how to interact with other types. What a difference that would make.
Yeah, a huge difference. And I can tell you about the movies. So prior to 1987, actually all the way up through the 90s, movies always had a manifestor archetype. When I say always, almost always had a manifestor archetype. This was the hero, the guy or gal who just kick ass and tear it all apart, and they would always just go do. They would also give that manifestor archetype a great big fat heart so that they were playing out the virtues of good and evil. You know what I mean? The good guys win. And every Western has the same archetypes in them. They have the bad guy who was always, really always the manifestor, because they would just come into town and terrorize the town is what they were trying to archetype this as. And they would have the sheriff that always pulled his gun and drew first. I mean, who drew last but shot first. The sheriff was always the generator in that archetype of an example, and the manifestor who was trying to cause trouble and just come into town was the guy in the black hat, you know what I mean, who was going to come shake up the town. And he'd call out the sheriff, and the sheriff he'd pull his gun first and draw. But the sheriff was always in his power of his response as a generator. His responsive nature, just pull for whatever. That's not how it works out in real life, of course. So they've been conditioning us all along. The only nice thing I can say about Hollywood is, at very least, before all of this really started to show up, they conditioned us all to realize that we can win and we don't have to listen to authority.
True.
So they at least
Very
gave
true.
us that. They gave us that right up through to
that's
the 90s.
when them telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's them injecting the element of truth according to universal law that they have to in order for us to give our consent in anything.
Right. And in order for us to give our money at the box office to go see it, so they would talk about
which is our consent.
Yes, they would talk about the universality of love, and we would have all these great love stories. I love a good love story. I love the Ghosts of Christmas Past or whatever with Matthew McConaughey. I always loved that movie. I love his great turnaround in that. And you give them all to me. Serendipity. I'll watch that movie with anybody. It's just a great thing. But then all of the archetypes, what you just described in Divergent, I can pick my new imprinting. No can do. The genome does not allow that. Yeah. So you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like Disney conditioning to go ahead and you can change. That's what that sounds like to me.
You can change your stars.
Yep. Which you really can't do.
So,
go ahead. What?
I was trying to explain to a friend of mine what human design was, and I didn't give her this analogy because she's a little bit older and she probably didn't even see Transformers. But for anyone who's seen Transformers, when Bumblebee, all Bumblebee has to do is scan another car, right? Scan the blueprint and then does it like that. So when I was trying to kind of come up with an analogy to explain human design, for me, how I picture it, right? Because we all picture it probably differently.
Yeah.
I picture it as our creator, after whatever agreements or commitments we made to do, boom, sends us off in our little life spark, which is a star. We pass through the Akashic records, we pass through, and before we pass through a certain, I guess you'll say, the human design, almost like it's a human design grid. Once we go through whatever commitments and promises we made with our creator, we are now going to take them on. So once our spark goes through like this film, this layer into the 3D world, all of a sudden, boom, our blueprint is laid out, our star explodes, and it comes together as now one other complete package. And the star just, boom, hits hits the female or whatever, and conception, and then there's that little life spark of, she's shy, she's outspoken, she's she's a manifesting
Whatever.
generator, she's a
Yeah.
projector, she's whatever. And that's kind of like,
you're describing
I just picture like a blueprint.
Yeah, you're describing conception, literally.
But what conception really looks like.
Yeah.
So we're born in, and then of course, once it enters the body, we'll be affected by whatever design and program is in the mother. So that's going to have some sort of effect on it. And the father,
Yep.
and here you have it. And then you have that little program that's born.
On the design side of a chart, the red information on the left-hand side of the chart, the sun and the earth are the genetic, it's the genetic flavor. It's not the genes themselves, but it's the genetic motif. It's that we get from our mother and our father. That's the design sun earth. We can count on that. The design sun is the genetic motif we picked up from our dad, and the design earth is that same thing we picked up from our mother. So yeah, they passed stuff on to us, but the imprinting and the blueprinting from the program is done very much like what you're saying. As we pass through ethereal layers, and suddenly there is conception, and in a human body, in a human mother, woman. Oh yeah. So I wish that girl could have described what a woman was when she was giving her Senate testimony. I thought that was odd. I mean, come on, lady. Got an innie or an outie? What do you got? So as that conception starts.
No, it's okay.
Come on, can we just call it?
Anybody with a rational brain can.
Yeah, she could have just said a funny thing, and
sure.
we all would have laughed at that and been like, the lady has a sense of humor, But as this spark happens and we go through, and as we're getting ready to be conceived, the imprinting's already been given, and at conception we can simply read it. I mean, at birth, once we can simply read it. It's given us.
I've heard some people say, like, human design, they talk about the Maya in like in yoga, the system, like essentially, like that's what human design is it's explaining the Maya and what will come down here in an experience, and what character will play. I also like in human design, they talk about how, like, the carnation cross is the plot line, and then your profile is the character, and then the type is, I don't know, can you kind of expound on that down a little bit?
Yeah. So the incarnation cross is not a religious cross. It's an actual cross on the wheel. It just means the sun and the earth, and the sun and the earth happen to make what visually appears to be a cross. So the incarnation cross is literally ends up being the archetype, your own fiery little archetype. It's the purpose of what you ultimately are here to learn and do and be. So each of our incarnation crosses literally give us what we're here attaining. The profile becomes the costume we wear while we're attaining that. It's what we've got on. It's sort of what the rest of the world sees in us. They see that as we're attaining this cross. If you really think about it, when you really get down and you follow your own strategy and authority, and you awaken to really what you are, that's when you have the possibility to live out your incarnation cross. And in reality, you become the mythological character that is that cross. Everyone has their own mythology, and we're all blunted from it as we are homogenized and taken away from our nature, and we're all given it back as we awaken into our own nature. Again, this is in the genes, guys. It's reliable. We can rely on this. Jen, can you read out the whole verbiage for the show? Because I write the titles and I forget what I wrote.
For today's show?
Yeah.
Today it was the series conclusion, reliability, and our genetics have been revealed. We can rely on them now.
Yeah, it's our genetic. That's right. That's all, the whole thing, the reliability of, if nothing else, throughout this whole thing, we've revealed that we have a genetic way. We can read it. Anybody who wants to doubt this can come ahead and experiment with it themselves, and they will see. And it'll be impossible for them to not see. And ultimately, what will go on over time is more and more this will catch on. I'm hoping we can get this into groups. I have no doubt I can sit into a group of 7 or 8 people or 5 people, and if they're all open and receptive, we can read for them all at the same time. And because right now it's a one-on-one process, and it's an arduous one-on-one process. It takes a little bit of time, and yeah, so it'd be nice to start up in groups, man. And
We
just
are working
You can start with
towards
couples.
that.
say that again, Sheena.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you can call me Sheens. That's my good friends call me that too. I was going to say you can start with couples, like even couple reading, and then honestly, it would be probably just a kick-ass therapy session for couples to sit there and have it read together, and then you could just say, "Hey, can you think of a time where this person does that to you and it bothers the hell out of you?
Right.
Oh, well, did you know that this center is blah blah blah, and that is why."
That's why they can't help it.
And it bothers you because of this, gateway or whatever. I'm sorry that I don't know as much about human design yet, but
that's exactly what
I'm on a quest now. So
well, I'm on a quest too, because I've noticed now in the past months and a bunch of months now, every time I actually read for a couple, Ra always said, no, you give them their individual readings before you do a partnership reading. And he was right for his time. But we're a whole spiral or two later in time, and the knowledge has impacted the planet. It's in the ethos of our planet. We can't turn it off if we want. It can't be turned off now.
Correct.
And so couples are great. As I would read through you, Savannah, you and Jake, you guys found moments that this was like, oh, and suddenly things that were burdensome to you stopped, or at least became manageable, or started to get looked into.
That's wonderful.
In a different way, so
just to shout out to Dan. So I found human design like 2 years ago, and then I've been studying it, and then my husband just in January got his chart read by Dan, and then he sent the recording to me to listen to him explain his chart. And I just it was just so funny. I would just laugh because he could nail things down in my husband that he did, that some of them drove me crazy, but then also other things that that were really great about him. But it did it gave me understanding and compassion for my husband for why he does what he does. And it's I can't beat him up or expect him to change and be different, because it's that's how he's programmed to be. And so there's a quote from Ra where he says, I think a human design really came about to help us have compassion and love people, and also to love ourselves and stop trying to change people, and how it's torture to be with someone who's constantly trying to change you. And I can't remember the quote. I don't know if you can find it down, but he just talks about
he wanted to name the book, instead of the Human Design System, the Science of Differentiation, he wanted to name it Human Design, the No Fault Guide for Living, how it's not the other guy's fault.
I love that too.
Yeah. But he went with a more accurate name in reality, which is just the Science of Differentiation. But it could be further subtitled, The Guide for No Fault Living. It's just not the other person's fault. Even if they're a jerk, you get to move away from them. You get to just start to disconnect a little bit. What were you going to say, Sheens?
I was just going to say the human design advantage, right? That's exactly what it does. It gives you an advantage to understand, because where you understand someone, there's understanding. Where there's understanding, there's compassion. And it sounds like that's what he was trying to do. And if we are to work together in this world to bring about a better world, the two things we need more of are understanding and compassion. Period. And it first begins with our inner work. And human design, again, shows up to tell us who we are, to show us who we are, so we can do the work. It opens shadows, it expands on our gifts, and then it gives us compassion to want to find out somebody else's human design, so that way we can understand. So it's such a symbiotic relationship that human design, the No Fault Guide to Life or Living, gives the people. And whenever you can distill it to a way that even, the most layman of persons can understand, then that's it. So
it's true. It's so true. And it shows us what we're not, because what we're not are very often, or almost always, the things we've been chasing. And they're the things we start to expect in others.
Yes.
And it's the shit we want to see be, and we can't. It's not up to us.
Yeah.
So we're designed to commune, guys.
Jake has a comment. I'm actually going to pop it up on the screen. So it says it's huge for couples. Just a single point of understanding how my wife processes information led me to utilize her knowledge and opinions instead of compete with her and try to have all of the answers.
Bam.
That's beautiful.
Wow, Jacob. That's incredible.
Yeah.
See,
He
it's the
also
better
said he has
couples.
good coaches.
Yes. Yes. Amazing coaches.
What were you going to
Excellent
say,
coaches.
Sheena?
No, I just said it's beautiful. I mean, here's an example, Savannah and her husband, of how well it works for couples as well as the individual. I mean, my husband is not into any of this, and knowing that he has an open spleen, it's understandable. I have the open solar plexus, and we're both projectors, and it allows me to have more compassion when he's blunt and matter of fact. I just tell him to say it better. And he understands when I'm emotional and why I'm emotional. And instead of like waiting for an emotional scene if we're watching a show to see if I'm going to cry, he just allows me to be.
That's so wonderful. Yeah.
And
So
for him to not be into it, be mind blown as to what you've uncovered for him. He thought, I will say this, he thought seriously Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
That's right. I remember. Now I remember the text.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
My sister, when Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how does he do that? How does he know that?
Yes.
She's like, I think he's psychic. And I'm like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is. Anyways, yeah.
Yes.
You throw yourself into it long enough, it becomes natural enough to just basically read. It is a language. So I suck at language. If you ask me to learn French, dude, I'm just whatever. I'm never going to. German, forget it. You know what I mean? Mandarin, I'll never get there. Spanish is my only hope, only because I had 2 Spanish like girlfriends / wives, and so maybe. But this language I learned, it was worth it. I figured we could almost wrap this up just to point out we can rely on these dang mechanics, guys. Go back over the series, pick up what you like, what called to you. Whoever's going to watch it, start at the beginning. Maybe we can, I think they get set up automatically inside of YouTube, do they not, to where the ones that are episodes will lump themselves 1 through 10, right? Jen, or something like that. I don't know if it does that automatically or.
Well, we have all the episodes uploaded on our YouTube channel by season. And also, if you go to Anchor, and I think when I upload it on Anchor, it will separate it in Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. It will be grouped as season 1, season 2, and
good
all
deal.
Together.
Just go through it all and recognize the reliability of this. It's not mystical. Where it came from is mystical, but where we came from is mystical too. Least we not forget 14 billion years ago, we came from something the size of a golf ball. What the hell? Please, somebody explain to me what the hell that is. We don't, like I say, God doesn't make any mistakes. Boom, get the show rolling. Who knows what 14 billion years is to him or her? Who knows? That could have been a drop in the bucket. Like, oh, I'm going to yawn, I'm going to go to bed now, I'll wake up. It's 14 billion years later to us. It's next morning for him. I just don't know.
I would have to look at the cycle clock, but I do think that's like 14 billion years is like an hour to the heavens. Like, it's the time difference coming down here is very different.
I'm down with that. I'm so down with that. I just don't know. And part of me doesn't even care.
Well, that goes into like the Kali Yuga. And I believe in the Hindu text is what they talk about, the cyclical things. That would be probably a show we could do on.
Well, there are epochs of time, so I know I can dig into what all those epochs have been doing and all of that stuff. But regardless, here we are. That is mystical all by itself, that we can be sitting here talking. There's no reason for it other than to advance consciousness. We're here advancing consciousness. Our 9-centered bodies are here to commune. The body decides, it gives us a chemistry, it tells us what's the scoop, and it's up for the passenger to sit back and watch the movie and allow it to unfold and make sense of it afterwards, not during. It's always after. And as soon as you start to really just allow that to happen, you'll realize You can't get it wrong if you come to a human design session and you're open and receptive. If you're open and present, I'll punch through. Any good reader will punch through, and suddenly you will start your process, and you'll get the hell out of the matrix, and we'll red pill you so that those bastards up top can stop using our shit against us, because they can just all go fuck off is what they can do. Jen, last night,
and stay there.
Yeah, and stay there. Stay fucked off, okay? It's a penalty box.
Don't come back in another incarnation.
Yeah, it's a penalty box, and the whole team's going to check the shit out of you. Try to get out of that penalty box, okay? Run home.
I think that's why we came down here, is to make sure they stay in that penalty box.
I'm going to hip check them so hard I'm going to get a foul. So one of the things that occurred to me last night, Jen, was that all of this emotional decision making in the now. Don't you want to protect your grandma? Don't you want to wear a mask and protect your grandma from killing grandma? And had I thought clearly in the beginning, I would have said, you're asking me to make an emotional decision. This is emotional decision making. You don't know any of this. We don't know.
And it's a straw man argument in the end. Yeah, you're asking me to make an emotional decision based on a non-question. So
right.
We're not supposed to make emotional decisions.
Right. Literally.
We are supposed to wait until we ride the wave and the wave is over, and then we will have clarity on what the best decision is to make.
Period.
Period. And the more that I listen to that and drill that into me, and I analyze going back, my emotional decisions,
they were fast, weren't they?
Oh man. And yes, they were not right. They were not right. They were in the moment, and I can't be in the moment.
Right.
Same here.
Yep. Exactly. This makes sense. And so that occurred to me that I was like, you know what? They know that we are a disorganized emotional planet. We haven't woken up to our emotions yet. If they know this data, and
they know this data,
and absolutely, no doubt,
all the messaging has this emotional component to it. Almost all of the messaging that they allow to happen, 10 shows, all the media outlets, they all produce the same exact messaging. Build back better. Yeah, screw you. You're lying to us. So.
That's even marketing.
Yep.
Marketing is all based on emotions.
Yep, because they know people make rash. They know the decisions they make are rash on emotional thinking, and they know that they are the wrong decisions to make every single time, because the person pulling the puppet strings, urging you to make the decision by pulling your emotional strings, are the ones who benefit from you making the emotional decision. And that is what they've done time and time again. That's what they will continue to do until we mature and take control of our emotions. Because I forgot who said it. They said, learn to control your emotions, or someone will use your emotions to control you. Might have been Bruce Lee or somebody, but it's 100% true.
It's 100% true. And then another spot that what were you going to say, Jen?
I was going to say, I do something that's called E + R = O. Your emotions plus your reactions equal your outcome.
Right.
If you are not aware of your emotions, they're going to trigger the reaction, and then that equals the outcome. So it sounds like people who are emotional need to get a pass to not make decisions in the now.
And if it's wicked explosive stuff, you can even expand that out. E × R = O squared, meaning a lot of outcome.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be an exponential amount of outcome. Maybe you didn't want an exponential amount of outcome,
Yes, it to the nth degree is like, absolutely.
Yep. The other spot
I have to write this down on my little phone.
The other spot I noticed that if they are truly using this information, I'm still on the fence about it. I assume that they're using it. Why wouldn't they be? But it's so esoteric sounding that they could easily thumb their nose at it and poo-poo it. But then Jennifer gave me the clue. Millionaires stare at their money and billionaires watch the stars.
JP Morgan Chase said that millionaires don't follow the stars, billionaires do. That is why everything that they do is based on a specific calendar system. Even the Gregorian calendar and how they broke it up. We'll take example Easter. You
Right.
know, like today, it's based on a calendar, and there is esoteric knowledge behind it.
Right, right, right. Well, these esoteric knowledges don't need to be so esoteric anymore because, as it turns out, those I Ching guys, the chakra people,
They're
all the astrology, the Vedic, all these cats were wicked onto something. They just didn't have the rest of the piece, which we have scientifically to measure, and we can finally measure where everything is to within a meter, inches sometimes, and now we can put it in a wheel juxtaposed to another wheel and draw a line. A plus B equals A squared plus B squared will equal C squared. And in that case, we are C squared. We're the long line in a triangle. That's what we are. The shortest line in the triangle is the personality. The second longest line would be the yin, and we are its outcome. Like quite literally. So I thought of one last spot that I know we're getting controlled heavily. The most undefined center in the body graph is the head center. It's the least opportunity for activation, and it's way up on top. And the not self of the head center is what's been being played to us to keep us being divided the whole time. Please, everybody, think about things that don't matter. Think about stuff that doesn't matter.
I know for
Here's stuff that's what the head center does.
sure. I have experienced a lot of bitterness.
Yeah,
Yep.
about stuff that doesn't matter, right? Is that what you're going to?
Yeah. As a projector, my not self is bitterness, and I particularly felt a lot of bitterness through my life as it relates to others getting things that I personally didn't feel that they deserved, worked for, earned, while I'm struggling, and seeing how people who are just not nice people had things come easily. So there's that division tactic that they fed into my not self part being bitter. And they've created these inequality areas. And so I have been operating from the bitterness aspect most of my life.
And now,
but knowing that now, I can change it.
And now when the bitterness shows up, it's you recognize it. That's just a chemistry. My body's giving me this as a chemistry. And you see it as a signpost.
Yes. Yeah. Now I can change the wiring. I can change the station. I can change the program. I can change the frequency. And I don't have to beat myself up anymore.
They've been pouring in on our head and ajna, making us think about things that don't matter and trying to be certain about all of that. Confusion over the uncertainty about piles of things that's too much, that doesn't matter. Welcome to the ease of dividing up humanity just by pouring in on that with all the money and the advertising and propaganda. So screw them.
Yep.
Is the thing. So
yep.
Well, that's what we are here to do, is to help break down this
bad matrix,
this container they've put us in.
Yeah, and give us the matrix we deserve, our own genetic matrix designed to commune.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
No one's supposed to be hungry on this planet, and no one's supposed to be all messed up either.
Nope. So
no, they have put us all into a barrel.
Yep, barrel of fish. They're just Anything last thing from you, Savannah?
The barrel.
My baby woke up, so sorry. That's why I'm kind of have to mute it. But I'm trying to think any last thoughts. Yeah, I just want to say, like, human design empowers you. And I feel like it makes it so that you can't be easily controlled by some outer authority, whether it's so really I feel like human design just empowers you to know like how you work, and so you can't be manipulated. And yeah, there's so many things in this world that want to control us and manipulate us and get us to do things that really aren't in alignment with like who we are. And so I think that's really the gift of understanding your human design is empowerment and self-love and
how not to be manipulated so easily.
Yes.
I get it. So I can't wait to get your kid, Savannah. We'll do that at some point in time. And Jennifer, what else do we got?
Well, I think this was an excellent show and an excellent ending to season 1. You two ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I know next season we've been bouncing off a couple of ideas. We do like this setup where we're doing a round table. We are also asking for more people who would like to come on and join the round table. Please send us a message. There's the link down below the scrolling banner. That's the way you can get a hold of us. We have our Wednesday night shows going on. We didn't really quite make a decision. Are we doing Barack Obama or are we doing Russell Brand?
Oh, it's such a tough choice. Barack Obama will be very salate. It'll be what's the word I'm looking for when you're controversial, and Russell Brand will be that'll just be fun. I'm not sure. Do you want to hold off? We don't have to decide right now because I don't know.
We'll make it a surprise.
We'll make it a surprise.
There you go.
Either you
We'll
guys
make
have a
it-
choice. Either you guys have a favorite or a particular you preference.
I think Russell Brand is a good, because he's a lot of people follow him and he does have such a unique, strong personality. So it'd be fun to look at his chart and see like how that manifests in his behavior. So I think he's a fun one to do.
He's a lot like Donald Trump, by the way, just so you know. All right, yeah, we'll do that. And then the last pitch of the whole thing, the whole reason we're demystifying this is so that people can stop being like concerned or weirded out or thinking that they're not sure if they should get read or look into things.
Yeah.
We're going to teach, baby. I'm teaching. You want to learn? Call it in. Don't wait. You want to be read or know a little bit more? Call it in. Don't wait. We need readers. If you read, get your ass over here. Stop stopping. Is that what Tony Stark said in one of his things? He told Pepper, hey, stop stopping. We got to go. So get the readers over here. You know what I mean? If you read, get over here. Come, please.
Yes, and you readers, we didn't really touch on this. Sorry to cut you off, Dan, but y'all know what's coming up. So we really want to like be able to get wake people up, wake humanity up to their true potential. So it's important that we do get this information out. And we get people read and we do demystify it because there is a lot of people that are, hung up on exactly what it is or if it's woo-woo, and it's really not. It's science.
Science of differentiation, that which makes you different.
Yes, it is.
Oh, is it okay if I make just one comment? So I was helping a friend just yesterday she was showing me her son's chart and her chart. And it was just funny because she was explaining to me like the struggles they have in the relationship. And then I pulled up some things from the book, and her son had a lot of the logical channels. But then she had a lot of the sensing channels where it's the more abstract, more sensing. So it helped her it helped it click, like, don't take it personally. Like if you're struggling to connect with him, like sometimes and it was just so funny to have like all these aha moments of,
it's such a power. It feels like the power of the gods given to us, and basically we're the little gods. We're the little images of what that's all supposed to be. We were made in the image. I mean, now I guess we've been given the tools to act that out some. Let's go forth and multiply, man. I want a front line, 10 times what Jesus has. Jesus managed to multi-level network market the whole planet with a front line of 12. Let's build a front line of 5,000 or something.
We're working on that, Dan. It doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, I want it now. Oops.
I will impact, Dan.
Yes.
There you go. Rein him in.
Yep.
I will impact.
Let's do
For those of you who tuned in, especially Jake, thank you for chiming in. We love to hear y'all's comments so I can pop them up on the screen. Please make sure to tune back. Again, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the show. Hit that notification button. Share this out. If you know somebody who hasn't been read and they would like to know what their design is, reach out and give us a call. Me and Dan were talking. We were giving them complimentary sessions. We're going to raise that by donation. I think we're going to do a suggested donation. So definitely send information if you want to get read.
Well, donation and an exit interview.
Yes, and an exit interview. So we want to get you guys feedback so that we can show the world how impactful this is to other people. Once we start to make a change, once we start to wake up and change, believe it or not, it's going to quantum shift the whole world that we live in. And that's what we are here to do.
Damn
All right.
straight, baby. Season 1 over.
Season 1 over. Fantastic. We did it, Dan.
We did it. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for showing up.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Y'all have a wonderful evening and happy Easter.
Bye.